Nicholson Joker. So, you know, like that film before. So they're all dressed as clowns and very circusy. So straight away, all of Gotham assume, oh my God, the Joker's back, and it's all a bit creepy and all a bit mad. And so all that starts going on. And then
before that, so what I really liked about this is how instantly Max is an unlikable character.
Yeah,
he's playing the role of somebody who's supposed to be really well liked and respected in the city.
Yeah.
And he's kind of going with the sort of pretending to be humble.
Yeah.
Sort of, I wish I could give you everything, and all I can do is give you my love and all of this. And the people are loving it, going, oh, and he a nice lad, really.
Yeah.
And
as soon as all these buggers turn up,
well,
he makes a runner, doesn't he?
And it's perfect because you kind of get like instantly he's dislikable. He's a dislikable, despicable person, and I think that's the first part of this film, which we will talk about it later. The first part of this film, which I really enjoy, is how much the villains' backstory and the villains themselves are actually detestable. So you kind of want Batman to beat them, which is good.
Yeah, you root for him. So everything's going on. They've even got guns in this. They set people on fire and everything. So it's quite graphic. And then we cut to, so all this chaos is going on, typical Gotham night out. They cut to Wayne Manor, and it, again, really good Tim Burton fashion in it. The Wayne Manor's on a hill, it's all spooky, it's all like lots and lots of fog.
Yeah, Batman hasn't paid his electric bill.
No, he's sat in the dark, and then all of a sudden the light shines, and it's the bat signal, and he just stands up and looks over at his window and gets his gear on. Good old Michael Keaton. And then it comes back to the goons. And basically what they're doing is they're looking for Max. They actually want Max. They're looking for him. But obviously they're causing like a nightmare at the same time. Then we suddenly see the Batmobile first. A good old Batmobile driving through.
Batmobile. Looks like it's made of plastic, but it looked great when I was a kid.
No, yeah, when it was a kid I was like, oh, this is so cool. He takes them all out. He sorts it all out in seconds, basically, doesn't he? A clown, though, does grab Selena Kyle against it. Because she's now like out in the open now. She's on her way in from work.
She's trying to take the speech
to Max. Yeah, so he grabs her with what are they called? The electric taser. Yeah, he grabs her with a taser, and Batman's like, oh, whatever, stood there, and Batman then gets his launcher, doesn't he? And he goes, oh, you've missed, because obviously it's the wall. But then he pulls the wall, and like a chunk of blooming brick knocks the clown out. So that's really good. Selena Kyle's just fantastic. So obviously this clown just passed out on the floor and she's kind of saying thank you. And she says something like, well, that was brief, just like all the men in my life. She's got a very good self-deprecation sense of humour.
And then she's kind of chatting to the passed out clown on the floor.
Yeah, and she's talking to him.
She's picking up the paperwork.
And she picks up the taser and tests it on him, which is really funny.
And that's the first seed, really, because she then takes that taser for herself. So she's got the taser now. And then Commissioner Gordon's having a chat, and so's the mayor, with Batman, and that's when they do a nod to it looks like the circus clowns are back, like the Joker circus clowns are back, and he's like, oh, I doubt it, and all the rest of it. So it was a really good... Can I just say, I'd love if Batman was as nonchalant as you in this.
Oh, I doubt it.
Or whatever.
No, whatever. Well, he's really good there, because he's quite stern, isn't he? And he doesn't talk very much at all.
Well, that's his first line of the film.
Yeah, he's really brief.
We've gone through it really quickly, but we're about 25 minutes into the movie, and that's his first line.
And his first proper line, and all he says is, we'll see, or something like that. And then down to you. So a lot of Tim Burton magic going over the zoo, and then we get introduced to Penguin.
Yeah, so it goes down to this sort of it's an abandoned zoo, I'm guessing, because if it's not an abandoned zoo, I would not be going there.
Zoo.
There's a giant crab. Like, whoever went to a zoo and thought, do you know what I need to see? A giant crab. Like, but it's Tim Burton at his absolute best. It's all covered in snow. It's all derelict, and they cut to what I'm guessing is supposed to be... It's got a big polar bear on. I'm guessing it's supposed to be the underwater sea show.
Yeah.
And then you see Penguin in his lair.
In the actual penguin exhibit.
Exactly, yeah, with all of it, with his penguins swimming all over and all this kind of stuff. And he's talking to Max, is that right?
Yeah, because they've stolen Max now.
Yeah. So he's talking to Max, and Max is obviously trying to get out of it straight away with money, because that's how he gets away with everything. And that's not really going to work in this one. So the next part, I'm a bit lost as to where we are.
So what's really clever is he's using the he's got a thing about umbrellas as something that was very good with the comic books as well, is he always had like an umbrella in his hand. So he's using the umbrellas, and there's one that's like a woo woo. I mean, you lot can't see that what I'm actually doing. Like I'm there going woo woo. It means nothing.
So I know where we are now. Yeah. So he basically tries to convince Max that they're both the same kind of person. They're both monsters. And the reason for that is that he has access to all of Max's rubbish. So he's very cleverly, for example, he knows that he's been taking shortcuts, and he knows that he's been dumping waste where he shouldn't be wasting it. Shouldn't be dumping it, rather.
It's a clean plant.
Yeah, and he makes a very good point about how there's a document proving a lot of this stuff. And he says, well, if that document did exist, then it would have been made sure it was shredded personally. And then he brings up, the Penguin brings up this document of like just frayed. And he says it's amazing what you can do with a lot of sticky tape and patience.
Yeah.
So that kind of, he's almost blackmailing him to sort of, to help him in what he wants to do, and that will become more apparent later on.
And he asks him how his partner's doing. How's your partner doing? He's like, oh yeah, he's on an extended vacation. And he's like, okay. And he's like, hi Max. And he brings out his hand, and he's actually like, yeah, extended vacation, my ass, he's killed him.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, then we cut to the next part of the film, which is in Catwoman. Well, no, she's not there yet.
Don't let them all know yet.
Spoilers. Selina's apartment, which is very pink and a bit dingy. It's a really nice moment. She kind of walks through the door, and in the classic, hi honey, I'm home. And then there's a lovely line of, oh, actually I'm not married. She goes in, she plays the voicemail, she goes and gets some milk for the cat, and then sits in the chair. And what's good about that is, later in the film we'll come back to it, is how monotonous that is and how boring that is. And it's this, obviously the thing she does every single day. It's kind of like a muscle memory by this point that's what she does. So then you get a quick tour of her apartment, and it's very, as I mentioned, it's very pink and very girly. There's lots of like fluffy animals, and that sets the tone of that she is just a very normal woman, a very plain woman that likes fluffy animals and stuff. So that as she's listening to a voicemail, she gets a couple from her mum, and one about perfume, which is a bit strange. And then she gets a voicemail from herself reminding her that she needs to get the Bruce Wayne meeting file, and if she hasn't got it, she needs to go back to work. So then she ends up going back to work. And yeah, you can take it from there.
So she's back at work, and she's pulling all the files ready. So, like, prepping. Basically, she's doing all the prep ready for the meeting that Max Schreck has got with Bruce Wayne in the morning. But she's looking for these files, and stupidly, she's opened protected files, which she shouldn't have opened. And so she's now reading all this, like, stuff about the plant and all about the power plant that Max wants to do, which is all a bit not above board at all and a bit backward. So all that's kind of going on. And Max pitches up and says, like, and she tells him, doesn't she? Why does she tell him?
Well, that's the stupidest bit in the whole movie. It's like, oh, I've been looking at the protected files, and I've seen you've been doing some pretty naughty things.
And he's like, how did you do protected files? They have a password. Well, I noticed your stuffed chihuahua was called Geraldo, and I guessed your password.
So yeah, a bit intrusive if you ask me, to be honest.
So she deserved that.
Yeah, and then so you get this kind of, Christopher Walken is then, being very aggressive, overly aggressive to her, and saying, you shouldn't be in my private business. This is why my son's legacy. This is how I'm going to leave my son. Who, and in fairness, the whole way through the film, the one thing you get from Max is that he genuinely loves his son.
Yeah.
Terrible human, but loves his son. So he kind of like pushes her up to the window almost, like without physically touching her, kind of backs her up into the window.
Into a corner.
And then there's a flippant comment saying, well, it's not as if you can kill me. And he then says, well, that's what you think. And then they share a laugh, and you think, oh, he's winding her up. No, then he just pushes her.
He pushes her straight through like a window, like really high story block. And she hits loads of... I don't know what they're called.
It's just like
the window.
It's like I know I can't think of the word. It's the bit that goes above a shop to protect the fruit. And
fruit,
that kind of
stuff. So she goes through all of these like woof, 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 all the way down. So it's almost like they kind of like hold her fall a little bit. Ends up in the snow right at the bottom, and then all of the alley cats swarm her body. And this is it. It's almost like this great big fall and this smack to the head, and all the cats and all of it, and all that build-up of him, because he's obviously bullied her for a long time, and she just opens her eyes and she's awake, but it's like a snap.
And what I like about this is it's kind of open to interpretation whether you believe that she was dead and came back to life, or whether you think she actually it was a heavy fall and she somehow managed to survive.
that she's just lost it. So then it goes back to her apartment, and you see the whole routine, but it's like in a zombified manner. So like she opens the door like, "Hi honey, I'm home," and she's like, "Hi honey, I'm home. Oh yeah, I forgot I'm not married," and it's like really mundane. Turns the lamp on, but then she knocks it over, goes to the fridge and gets the milk. Dan loved it because she pours the milk all over the cat by accident.
Absolutely
as well.
Hilarious, I thought.
And then she herself drinks like an absolute carton of milk, and it's going like all down her face and all down her front. And then she presses play to her machine, and it's her mum going like, "Why haven't you called me? Why haven't you called me?" And then it says, "Selena Kyle, how about Gotham Lady perfume? If you wear this around the office, your boss will be lighting a candlelit meeting for 2." And that's it. That's like just blows her off. And she grabs the machine and she smashes the machine, picks up all her fluffy toys and puts them down, because in America they got like the
waste disposal
unit, so she like kills all her fluffy toys and there's fluff everywhere. Smashes up all the pink lighted in her
and then all
bedroom.
this is going on, she's spray painting everything black, and then there's all the alley cats that have been nibbling her a few minutes later then start coming through the window
in her flat. And then she finds the biggest leather jacket she owns, which is quite a big leather jacket.
Well, it's a good job she's such a small woman, otherwise it would not have turned into a fittable jacket or outfit.
She sits there with white wire and the leather jacket and sews herself her outfit, which I think is really cool.
Yeah, and then so that's where Catwoman is born. She becomes Catwoman at that moment. So we then fast forward to the mayor giving a speech, and this is all about the how much of a fuss has been kicked up by this clown gang, and how the mayor is trying to reassure the people of Gotham that everything is under control, everything is fine. And then out of nowhere you get one of the clown guys come up and just take the baby off his wife. She didn't really fight very hard.
No, she just kind of handed it over.
Yeah, so he takes the baby off the mayor's wife and kind of goes to disappear, and he disappears down the sewer. And he gets the world's worst bit of acting, intentionally world's worst bit of acting down in there. So he goes, "Oh no, it's the horrible penguin man! Oh no, don't hurt me! Take the baby!" And then he does, and then you get the penguin's first appearance in the sort of grand light of day, slowly raising up out of the sewer with the baby, looking all kind of nice and lovely, like not, but you know what I mean, the look on his face.
The hero effect.
Hands it over to the mayor's wife, and then all of a sudden he's everyone's best mate.
He's everybody's best mate, and he sits there and he's basically he's on telly now as well, and he explains that he wants to find out who he is, and he appreciates that, you know, he wants to find out who his parents are and just let them know that he does forgive them. While that's happening, that interview is then showed to us through Wayne Manor's television.
Massive telly for this
massive
time.
TV.
For 1992, it's ridiculous.
Biggest telly I've ever seen. So him and Alfred are stood there watching the TV, and actually Wayne says, like, because Alfred goes, "Everything all right, sir?" And he says, "Yeah, actually, I really hope he finds his parents." So straight away, Bruce Wayne is actually empathising with him because he doesn't particularly know who he is yet. But then it turns out it then switches very fast. All the clowns and the goons are all up in this like upstairs where Penguin's now sitting, because Max has organised him somewhere to stay, and he's got this great big list, and there's loads of lists, and you can just tell that there's another plot going on.
He's up to something
like a subplot
dodgy
going on, that he's planning something. But Shrek is like also needing the Penguin's influence and thinking, well, I can plan something and get control now and get me plan.
And he's very clever in terms of the Penguin says, I just want access to the records so that I can find my parents.
Yeah.
And then spends hours in the record office taking notes and writing stuff down, which you're led to believe is to try and find his parents. And Batman instantly sort of kind of
sniffs
he goes outside and he's kind of checking him out, staking out, seeing what he's doing, and he straight away thinks something's not right.
Something's not right. But he does find his parents, so he does like a scene where he does find his parents, and he basically looks around everywhere and it's just not right, but he does find his parents, and he admits that he's Chester Copperpot now, and he wants to be known as Chester Copperpot, and he wants to reclaim his birthright and everything else, which is great. But again, it's that suspicion. Meanwhile, while that little scene went on, we have Catwoman's first fight. So there's an attempted mugging, which basically looks like a rape.
That's what he was going for. If she hadn't turned up, it could have turned pretty dark pretty quickly.
Yeah, pretty quickly. And Catwoman goes straight up to him and like scratches him across the face and beats the crap out of him.
She does Connect 4 on his face.